right, so welcome back to Hardcore Hotline. Today we are joined by Nick Ghanbarian of Bayside. Nick, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I live in California, so my day is just getting started because it's early-ish. 11 a.m. is early for a musician.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so much information. Nick, as we said, you are in Bayside. What do you do in this band?
I play bass. I've always played bass since I was like 13, 14 or so.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. Okay. All right. Bases. So that makes sense as to why you don't have your own little Wikipedia page. And it makes
Mhm.
sense why when you said that we were getting Bayside, we were getting the bases.
All my friends are bass players too. It's like we have our own little community of like misfit of island toys, kind of. No one,
Yeah.
we lack respect.
There is none for you. Tell us, what is it like to never have to worry about anyone recognizing you after a show?
It eats at my soul, and that's why I like to be on the internet,
Hmm.
to just put my face out there so maybe I will get recognized somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, doubtful, but maybe. I mean, you are wearing a Bayside hat, so maybe people will either think you're a big fan or maybe you're in the band. Who can tell, right?
Sometimes
So,
it's a shirt too. I'll wear a Bayside shirt.
can you wear both at the same time?
That's overkill. That's when I know I'm needy for attention.
Yeah. Well, everyone needs attention sometimes, even bases. Yeah, so Nandor, speaking of shows, you recently played the When We Were Young Fest, which was shrouded in controversy as
Mhm.
nerds nationwide claimed that it was a scam.
Mm.
Did it end up being a scam?
It did not. It wound up being the most positive and validating experience I think I've ever had being a musician, which is great.
What made it so positive and validating?
Because overall I was very happy with the experience. So I was like, why? I'm a 42-year-old man, and I want to when I have feelings, I'm
Mhm.
like, why am I having these feelings? I like to
Right.
spend a lot. I'm very introspective. I like to think about these things, and being in a band, and I love our career. I love what we've done. I love that we've never stopped. I've loved that we've adapted over the years and all this stuff. And we've kind of always done, as a band, whatever we needed to do to always do the next record or the next tour or anything like that. So along the lines, that means you say yes to things that maybe you don't get paid well for,
Mm.
or you get things that are presented to you as an opportunity, but for an opportunity for growth, but really aren't, i.e., Warp Tour, um, and things like Warp Tour.
Mhm.
Any chance I get to talk shit about Warp Tour and the experience that it was, I will. So,
We'll do that
so here we
later
go.
for sure.
It was. I go to a lot of shows. I go to a decent amount of festivals, and it just really seemed like the community of punk and hardcore and emo and all this stuff, it is a scene, and
Hmm.
this was
Hmm.
presented as it was just about every band from our scene creating emo Coachella vibe, and it
Hmm.
was extremely validating to see 50, 60,000 people sell it out in minutes, show up and have fun. And it wasn't Coachella where you're just like, well, Rage Against the Machine is playing, but also Drake is playing. They have nothing to do with each other. They're probably not
Yeah.
even going to hang out backstage.
Yeah.
Our entire scene was hanging out backstage. We've toured with like half of the bands that were on the bill, and you could sense everybody's positivity and pride in, this isn't just a festival we get to play. This is our entire scene that is 2 decades old at this point. And it went well. That the weather screwed us at first, and the first day
Yeah.
was canceled, rightfully
Yes.
so. But
Yeah.
other than that, the most positive and validating experience I think that we've had as a band.
So Saturday was canceled, as you said, and it was because of the wind. But do you think there was actually a massive conspiracy theory behind that, as so many of our callers have said?
I don't think that there's anything I could say that will change your caller's mind.
No.
Conspiracy theories are just, you believe them till death, and Yeah, I think they probably. What's the conspiracy that Live Nation controlled the weather that day and needed to cancel?
I think it was that most of the performers were not actually going to play, so they
Mm,
had to do some
okay.
last minute contract negotiations to get them in there, which is compelling. And when you have the internet as the echo chamber, you can definitely find any clues that you want to validate that theory.
Hmm. Exactly. That's the beauty of the internet. Everything's everything's true and
Mhm.
nothing is true all at the same time. It's a great time to be alive.
Absolutely. That's why the hardcore hotline is here because of the internet. So take that what you will. So, when you guys were playing, who played after you?
After us, I don't know who played immediately after us, but
Wow.
uh because here's my excuse. I like going
Mm.
to shows, I like going to festivals. So what I did after we played was I went to other stages to see bands like Death Cab for Cutie and Paramore and Bring Me the Horizon and My Chem. Like I wanted to see the bigger bands and their shows. So I don't know who played right after us on our stage. Um, but it's because I was so interested in seeing other bands play.
Wow. What
Mm.
a slap in the face to that band that played after you. But I would think that if I was there, I was probably waiting to see whomever played after you.
It happens, yeah.
But it was really nice of them to watch during your set. Did anyone read a book on the barricade during your set?
No, because what was funny about, this could be a bass player thing, but my side, when I'm looking out on the stage, was
Hmm.
also technically the VIP area.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
VIP, Bayside is a little bit of a working class band, and maybe our
Okay.
fans aren't that high class and hoity toity. So the
Right.
VIP section was fairly empty, which was the
Hmm.
section I was looking out into. So I could see the 30 people on my side. None of them were reading a book. But
Okay.
the
Okay.
rest
Maybe.
of the rest of the crowd were the more working class general admission people. That was packed. I don't think they were having a good time. My
Yeah.
my side was they were having conversations,
Okay. Yeah.
probably
Maybe
talking
they're
about me. I don't know.
right, or they were looking at their stocks or
Hmm.
or mortgages or
Yeah.
whatever rich people talk about. But as long as no one was reading a book, that must just be a Taking Back Sunday
There
thing.
might have been like ebooks, there might have been a e-reader type of scenario going on.
They could
Kindle,
have.
that
They
type of
could
thing.
have reading about how to continue to be rich,
Hmm.
as I imagine they do. So you talked about Warp Tour. You
Mm.
guys have a long history of playing at Fest. You guys have played a lot of Warp Tour. I believe you've played a Riot Fest.
Yeah, we usually do every other year.
Hmm. Hmm.
My dog just corrected you. So we've done like 4 or 5 of them, I would say,
Yeah,
over the last decade.
we will take a canine correction. That's fine. Um, but we have actually heard from Tyson Matzenbacher that Warp Tour is the worst place to tour with. Um, why
Mm.
is that? And please elaborate because
Wow. Well. Here's my spiel with it.
perfect.
Again, going with this working class demeanor that Bayside has.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, we're always looking to uh, grow our fan base, move our career forward. And you think Warp Tour, you think giant stages, giant crowds, all this stuff, the opportunity to
Absolutely.
win people over. But
Yes. Yes.
really, it does. Warp Tour is rooted in punk rock and everyone being equal and all this stuff. But once, I think that's how it started. And I think for a couple of
Yeah.
years, it was pure. Then you get sponsors, then you get money
Hmm.
involved, and it
Hmm.
needs to be profitable. And the bands, I want to say, were barely even secondary. They were more tertiary than anything. So you
Wow.
never
Okay.
really got respected on Warp Tour, but you still had that like carrot dangled in front of you of, well, everyone's equal.
Hmm.
So, and I'm like, yeah, well, we're all equally treated bad, is what we are. That's our
Okay.
equality. Um, so, and then a band like us, we like the idea of opportunity, and even 22 years into our band, we're still trying to make new fans
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
varying degrees of success. But um, what wound up happening to us every single year. We did the full run 4 times. What happened to us every single year is that we were on a secondary stage that was in a corner a mile away from the main stages. And
Okay.
although Warped Tour is, again, rooted in punk rock,
Hmm.
people park themselves at the main stages.
Yeah.
So they just stay there all day, and that's where you win new fans. But we were never big enough to be put on the main stage. So what we wound up doing for 4 summers was get paid less money than if we just did our own tour to
Hmm.
play in front of our own fans who would have came to our own shows, and we got to suffer for 16 hours a day. So I'm sure there's some success stories out there that
Yeah.
maybe people found us on Warped Tour, but
Hmm.
for the most part, I enjoyed maybe 1 out of the 4. So 25% is not good,
Not
um,
great. Not
not
great.
great. Um, and yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
1 summer on the main stage would have Bayside would have had an uptick
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
some sort of and what's funny too is that there's bands that were smaller than us that were on the main stage. There are bands that no longer exist that are on the main stage, and here we are just trucking along.
How so as a call center that does not have insight
Mm,
into how the bands are partitioned out, did
hmm.
you have insight into that, or were you just told this is where you're going,
Oh,
or
you're
was
just
that
told.
your okay, okay.
Yeah, you're told, you're offered a certain amount of money, maybe there's some negotiating, and then again, the carrot dangling in front of you is opportunity. And
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
we work hard, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had heard that some bands they had to tour in their little vans,
Mm.
and they just had to go on this mishmash of tour dates that did not make any
Oh
sense.
yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Dangerous to say the least too. I mean, summer you don't have to really deal with winter weather, but
Hmm. Hmm.
what you have to deal with is sleep deprivation, and that's not cool to keep up for all touring. um it's not the best thing when a smaller band is in a van or a sprinter van or whatever, following a headliner or a tour that is routed in a way that bus it functions in a way that traveling in a bus is the best way to do it. So if a
Okay.
if a van has to drive 10 hours overnight, and the people in the bands are driving the vans and they were just up for 16 hours, it's obviously not safe,
Correct. Yeah.
because buses are driven by bus drivers who sleep
Hmm.
all day
Hmm.
and are nocturnal and stay up all night. So it's a little safer as far as sleep deprivation goes. But when you're 25 years old and you're trying to make a name for yourself, it's like, well, what do I do? I have to hand out flyers all day, play a show for 30 minutes, and then drive all night and then do it all again. It's dangerous.
Yeah. 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 I mean, so then I guess it makes sense as to why When We Were Young festival was a much better experience, even though you didn't pay attention to who played after you, which is
I know who
great.
played after, but just not directly after.
That's
Do I need to look? I could look it up.
no, no. We will look it up,
I
and
am curious now.
we will let them know that you decided that you did not care for them. It would be hysterical on our part if it was someone like My Chemical Romance or
Well, they
Paramore.
they did both play technically after us, but no, not on our stage. Uh, you know,
Mm,
I
okay.
watched them, so I know that they
Oh, okay.
afterwards.
Bringing in a
Yes,
lot
yes,
of technicalities.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely. Okay, okay. That's fine. That's fine, Nate. I know that I had mentioned nerds before. It is very clear to us that you are one.
Yes.
And that we found that you run an event called Mosh Isley.
Mm.
Had to had to pause before that just so that people could get the full impact of that. Why are you like this?
um, easy answer is brainwashing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Before I had memories, literally before I had memories, my mother said I would just stand about 2 feet in front of the tube television in the '80s watching Star Wars. So I think that's brainwashing if I don't
Yeah.
actually remember it. I've always enjoyed nerdy things, collecting toys, what's cool is that it's now, well, I use the word cool. I'm sorry, it's not cool. But
No, no.
what I will say is that in my older age, it's just becoming the nerdiness and going to Comic Con and Star Wars and blah blah blah. All that is what buying like a Porsche when you were having your midlife crisis in like the
Uh-huh.
70s and 80s. That's what like the nerd version of this is. It's the midlife crisis right now. Is when was the last time I had fun?
Hmm.
Pure fun. Oh, when I was a kid. Okay, let me go watch Star Wars. You know
Okay,
that that's
okay.
that's the vibe that I'm putting out there.
So you are also part of like 3,000 podcasts.
Mm.
Why do you think men are so drawn to create podcasts?
Oh, Finn, my dog did not like that.
Mm,
He's on my podcast. He's on one of them, I should say.
okay, okay. So masculinity is the core of it, I can tell.
Let's see. I don't know. One of my podcasts does have some uh female representation. I will say that the Star Wars one for
Mm,
sure
mhm.
does.
Okay,
Um
okay.
well, I'll bring this back to really the beginning of our conversation. I play bass. I don't have a lot to do.
Okay,
So I have a lot
yeah.
of free time.
Yeah, 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 that is true.
So I need to talk a
Mhm,
lot
mhm, mhm.
just to even get, I need 30,000 podcasts just to, equal one, a step in the right direction as far as me getting noticed when I leave my house. It's like
Right,
just really
right.
spread the net of everything. I have a radio show that I do on
Mhm.
Spotify. I have a Star Wars thing. Anytime literally anyone asks me to be on something like this, I say yes, no matter what it is. Um,
Oh, we thought we were I thought that was okay. That's no, okay, that's fine.
but yeah, that's it. I just, again, being a nerd, I love music still. I love
Mhm.
finding new music still. I find it just from talking to my friends and people my age who say they don't like newer music. I say you're wrong. You're just not looking for it. And maybe Spotify's algorithms are not being friendly to you. Let me help you find music that you will like that is new. So maybe you
Yeah,
could go to shows again, like you did when you were a teenager and in your early 20s and you had fun. Life
yeah.
gets in the way. That's my main thing with my radio show is life gets in the way, and I
Mhm.
understand that. It hasn't for me because I'm single and I have no kids. I got all the free time in the world. So
Okay,
I could do
yeah.
the research, I could go to the shows, and I could let you know, hey, here's a new band that's awesome, and I think you would like them. Check them out.
Mhm. How many of your friends hate Turnstile? Our callers hate them so much, which is why we decided to wear their hoodie today.
It's funny because no one I know hates them, but
Mhm.
there is a sense of, and this is purely people being old.
Yeah,
There's a sense of, oh, you mean they sound like Snapcase? Oh, they sound like this, they sound like that. It's like, yeah, but Snapcase is like pushing 50. They're not gonna like have a hit record 20 years after their last record came out or whatever, like
yeah.
there's me being the young buck I am at 42. I love Turnstile. Like I
Mhm.
think it's great. That record deserves all the credit it's getting.
Yeah,
They are on the precipice of being um like actually culturally important.
mhm, mhm.
And I always say, a rising tide lifts all boats. Turnstile being a hardcore adjacent band and punk rock and all this stuff, if they're the next version of like 2000, the 2020s like Green Day or Nirvana or something, like it's hard to say that Turnstile could be those bands because things were so different 20 and 30 years ago,
Yeah,
but they can culturally be as important as those bands on a different level because streaming is the thing now and there's 7,000 genres of music now, and everyone's attention is split way
yeah,
more than it was when MTV was around. So
yeah.
Turnstile is literally one record away from being able to sell out arenas on their own if they can't do it. And that's what Green Day did. That's what Nirvana did. So once you have kids, or I say kids, once you have people in their early 20s starting to dress like the band that they're watching, that's important and we need to pay attention. So that's what Turnstile's doing. And uh obviously you have bands like My Chem and Blink 182 that
Mhm.
are taking them out to help them
Yeah.
actually reach new heights, and I think that that's great. The scary part about being a band that is popular is you every band has a crossroads where they're like, shoot, we're really popular. We have to let people know we're serious and we're artists and
Mm,
they need to take us
mhm.
seriously.
Yeah.
So that's to me always the kiss of death, is to like turn your back on what made you popular. So I just hope their next record sounds like part two of their last record,
Mhm, mhm.
and they do the right thing and take the right bands out and represent what got them there.
Y
Because if they turn into, say, probably bad example, but the Arctic Monkeys, who are just a lounge music act at this point.
Yeah, they're gonna start their Vegas residency at
Yeah,
any
yeah.
time now.
So hopefully they don't go that route, and hopefully when they are playing arenas, they're taking out other, like, I know they've already took out some hip hop and stuff, and I get
Mhm,
that that's part of their
mhm.
vibe, but you know, hopefully they take out some bands from the scene
Yeah,
that they come
yeah,
from.
yeah, the last tour they had JPEG Mafia and Snail Mail,
I
and,
dig it. I like that.
the Hotline, we love Snail Mail.
Yeah,
Um,
great.
but, people
Play
there
snail mail on my radio show all the time.
okay, well,
Wonderful.
that's one way to one up us, that's fine. But, the one things and we'll say this and then we'll wrap up with Turnstile because people have already turned us off by now, if they haven't already. The 2 things that Turnstile has done is number 1, they're now in Taco Bell commercials,
Mm-hmm.
which, I mean, who doesn't love Taco Bell?
Mm-hmm.
I think even the vegans do.
Yeah, I don't
And
eat meat. I love,
everyone loves
once a
it.
month maybe I'll be like, you know what's good about Taco Bell? Let's talk
Mm,
about Taco Bell for like the
okay,
next
let's
20
talk
minutes.
about Taco Bell.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the app, so much better for vegetarians and
Oh,
vegans because
yeah.
you could just take things out, put things in. So
Mhm,
that makes explaining in the drive-through
mhm.
that you don't want meat and you want
Yeah.
potatoes
At
or
2
whatever.
AM to the
Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
God. What a brilliant thing they did there.
Mhm.
That's it. I thought that conversation would be 20 minutes, but it's
That's
more like
fine.
20 seconds.
It could have been 20 minutes had we, had the attention span for it. They also, as we found, have brought back push moshing.
Mm.
Um, now, the community is divided on this
Hmm.
because there's the young push moshers, and then there are the, as the children call them, old heads,
Yeah.
which are breaking the young children's noses as they are
Yep.
push moshing. Are
Hmm.
you looking forward to the inevitable push mosh pit at a Bayside show?
I prefer that, honestly. I grew up, I'm when I say I'm not a poser,
Mm,
it makes me a poser, but
you
my
are a poser. It's fine.
experience into my introduction to punk rock was mall punk. It was Green Day in 1993,
Okay.
it was
Okay.
that sort of thing. So that was pogoing and push moshing
Hmm.
and all this
Hmm.
stuff. It wasn't swinging your fists, which tough guys were like, I could go to this show and swing my fists and it's legal, and
Yes.
that still
Yes.
exists.
Yes.
The one of the weirdest things about living in California for the last 6 years is my favorite band is Bad Religion, and I see
Okay,
them
poser.
as many times as I can.
Of course.
But seeing Bad Religion in California is a different experience because they're from here,
Hmm.
and a lot of people are actually older than me when they go to see Bad Religion, and a lot of those people are just like, this is fast and punk and I'm gonna swing, I'm gonna try and hit people. And I'm like looking at the crowd and I'm like, this is like one of the most intellectual bands ever, probably. I
Uh-huh.
will say of the last 40 years for sure, but maybe ever. Like Bad Religion is one of the smartest intellectual bands ever. And then there's just still people who are just like, I'm gonna punch people in the face.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
they
like,
yeah.
whatever. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure at this point there's just straight up like Republicans in the pit at watching
Yeah,
Bad Religion,
yeah.
and I'm like, what is anyone doing here? This is weird.
Yeah,
Um,
they're like, "Oh, I wish that I could get an election recount."
yeah, they're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, American Jesus, fuck yeah, I love that.
Mhm, mhm,
I'm like,
mhm.
do you know any other lyrics in the song?
Yeah.
You're just like the American Jesus part.
They're like, "I just like that part. I don't like to listen to much else." But, okay, so Michael, back to Bayside, which is probably
Nick,
why
it's
most people
Nick.
are watching this right now.
Yes,
If like
Nicholas.
who is?
Me.
That's what we said.
Yes.
So you are going on tour next year and you are
Mhm.
completely ignoring the Southeast United States. Why do you hate that area so much?
Let's just say you have to kind of go through the weeds to get to, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's just not worth going to. Like
Okay.
literally financially not worth going to. You could say, and these two, they're the literal corners of America. The Northeast gets a little dicey
Mm-hmm.
north of Boston, I would say.
Okay.
Um, the Southeast gets dicey starting around Atlanta. Um, Southwest, golden, love it, great, always great.
Wow.
I will say the Northwest, Seattle's worth going to. Portland is like consistently okay,
Really?
but it is, yeah, not great,
Huh.
not
Okay.
even good, just consistently okay. You know what you're getting.
Okay.
Um, but it's really difficult to get to. And
Mm.
you, when you go up to the Northwest, you dedicate yourself basically on tour 2 days off. Like you'll play San Francisco and most likely have a day off to get to the Northwest after that.
Okay.
And then leaving the Northwest, you usually go to like Salt Lake City or Denver, and that takes, and you need another day off. So basically, you need a day off per city that you play in the Northwest just for travel. So
Wow.
days off are slightly expensive. So
Yeah.
um, that's
Yeah.
more the issue. That's more the issue. I think I'm our band is lucky that we've been around long enough to have like establish our worth. So we could figure out financially how to make a lot of these things work. I shudder at the thought that younger bands have to like, again, with this theme of driving overnight to get
Mm-hmm.
somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
drive overnight to play in front of like 20 people in Portland or something like that. It's like it's no way to earn a career or feel like you're doing the right thing with your life. It's a weird time, I'm sure, for a lot of younger bands out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really it. You know, like it doesn't feel right to me that we're skipping Florida. um
Oh, I
culturally I would love to skip it, but
yeah,
I know we have
no,
fans
don't
there, but
don't feel bad about Florida. They're about to sink anyway. It's
yeah,
okay. It's all right.
it's more a safety thing. I don't want to be there when it sinks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could maybe if you're in the in the Panhandle
Yeah,
area,
that part's gonna stay.
you can hold on to Georgia real quick. But they might throw you off.
Mm.
So we always like to ask what the location you're least looking forward to on tour is. I imagine that it is Ohio. But
No,
am I wrong?
you are,
Oh,
because
mm,
there are a small handful of places that Bayside does extremely well in that other bands do fine in.
hmm.
Like for instance, we do better. Well, let me ask you this. Let me turn the turntables here on you. What do
Turning
you
the
think is
turntables.
what do you think is a bigger city, Cleveland or Cincinnati?
We don't like to think of Ohio too much,
Okay.
but I would say probably Cincinnati.
Okay, well, this backfired on me because Cincinnati is, I think, a
Yes.
smaller city than Cleveland, but we do extremely well in Cincinnati. So
Well, there's nothing
uh,
else to do in Cincinnati,
exactly,
so
or Ohio in general. But
yeah, yeah.
Vegas is another place that we've been consistently touring,
Hmm.
really since like 2006 or 7. And when we tell other bands that we never skip Vegas and we have excellent shows in Vegas, they're usually like, "We never play there because it sucks." And I think it's starting to change now, but
Hmm.
that's another place that people don't normally think to tour, and we've consistently gone there and played to local Nevada Bayside fans, and Las Vegas Bayside fans for almost 2 decades now, and it's been great for us. So, um, was the question, where am I least excited to
Yes,
go?
yes.
Okay, so I
Where do
started
you?
talking about something else completely.
Yeah, where
Sorry
do
about
you hate? We want to make
that.
sure those fans know that you hate them.
Okay, I'm going to stay on theme here, and I don't hate anybody, but places
Oh,
like Portland and Salt Lake City, we have not gained one new fan in like 20 years. So it's
okay.
consistent. It's
Hmm.
okay. It's consistent. But I know there will be the same couple of hundred people, probably not 1,000, but a couple
Okay.
a couple
Wow.
hundred
They
people.
have their own little club.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, could you bring a friend next time, something, please.
They
But they say no.
probably,
They say no, we
yeah.
can't bring friends.
No, their friends would say no anyway. They're like, it's a late night for us. It's a
One time we were
Wednesday.
playing Salt Lake City in a venue that was like there was a large venue and then a smaller venue, and we were in the smaller venue,
Mhm.
and the XX was in the big room.
Oh,
So
wow.
when we
Okay.
were done playing, I was like, I'm gonna go check out the XX and see what's going on in there. And there's thousands of people in there. I'm like, so there are people who like music in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Um, well, you heard it here. He doesn't hate anyone. They just hate coming to your state. So
Hmm.
you could let them know. So, is there anything else before we go that you want our 6 listeners to know about?
Well, is this like self promo time?
It is. Yeah, it's the
How
gross
much time do
timer.
I have? Because I have so many things that I do. Again,
You
because I have
do.
so much free time because I play bass.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe about the time you spent talking about Taco Bell and Turnstile.
Okay, so 20 seconds. All right. So I mentioned I have a radio show on Spotify, and it's only on Spotify because I stream music. It's called The
Hmm.
Radio Show. So if you're out there and you need to find some new music and hear more of my amazing voice, that's on Spotify. My Star Wars podcast is called Thank the Maker. That's streaming everywhere. That I do with another bass player, Adam from Story of the Year, and we had to bring one singer in, so that's Ryan
Okay.
from Yellow Card.
Oh, wow.
So we,
Someone that people know. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So we talk about Star Wars and how much we love it. There's
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
negativity there. We just like building a community. I'm over 20 seconds already. It's for sure.
It's fine. We're just
Um,
gonna go with it.
Okay.
It's
I wrote a children's book. It's called That's Okay. That's been out for a couple months now. I think it would make a great stocking stuffer for a little kid. You could get that at hecreative.com.
mhm.
What else do I do? Me and Chris, the drummer of my band. So I have a little cred because drummers are cool,
Yeah,
right?
drummers are like one tier up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They have Travis Barker, like they're that's their guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Um um we have a coffee company, a coffee roasting company called Legal Speed. We have a Black Friday sale that started at the time of this recording today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Bayside just put out an EP. We have new music, even more new music coming out sooner than you think, like literally probably the beginning of next year, like very much so the beginning of next year. And then you
Okay.
mentioned our tour, which starts in
Yes.
February. So um, if we are going to continue being a band for another 20 years, we need people to listen to our new music and come to our shows. So uh, do that,
Yeah.
I
We
guess.
will we can't promise anything, but maybe someone will be like, "Oh, I'll go to the show in Salt Lake City." All right. Well, thank you again to Nick Ghamcracker of Bayside for joining us, and we'll
Michael.
see you next time.